Good evening from Europe. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, guys. For me, it's still May 20th. The US market is closed. It's 5 p.m. New York time. So we are going to make like US close, Asia pre-open market update. Especially that when it comes to the Asian hours, the few interesting things may come up. I'm talking about the Australian dollar. First thing first, it's going to be like flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI, and then we are going to have a RBA Gulf speaks right in the middle of the Asian session, as well as credit card spending when it comes to the New Zealand. Of course, we can expect some informations from Japan. We are going to get the trade balance and flash manufacturing PMI out of the Japan, right? So, well, that's the weekly chart of the Australian dollar versus US dollar, all right? And the red color, as you know, is related to the monthly chart, and the blue color is related to the weekly chart. And as you can see here, guys, well, the recovery of the Australian dollar is incredible. It's really, really incredible, right? But still, we are within the supply zone. I still expect, I might be totally wrong. Guys, you have to do your own research as well. You have to do your homework, right? I do have Australian dollar short exposure, but looks like market may want to test me, right? So, well, I'm watching very carefully. I want to see this week some kind of the upper shadow or the close like this, and the next week attempt to move higher, right, with the upper shadow. Okay, so I need to see some kind of the rejection. I want to see some kind of the supply activity. Otherwise, well, I'm gonna be forced myself, not myself, I'm gonna be forced by the market to cut the losses, right? Anyway, that's the last weakness, right? And as long as we are below, still based on this chart, theoretically there is a chance we are going to see lower levels. Now, well, it's really extremely move when it comes to the Australian dollar. It's based on the sentiment. We also have very similar V-shaped recovery when it comes to the indices, right? So what I'm going to watch when it comes to the Tokyo session, I'm going to watch eventually, based on this RBA Gulf speaks, break out of this consolidation, meaning that we might see the double of that one, right? And if you can see this rising trend line, right? If we are going to double that, there is some confluence. We have the weekly supply, we have the monthly supply, we have the retest of the broken trend line, right? Everything is around 66.40, 66.80, right? So that's where I'm going to look for some bearish activity. But before I'm going to go well and add into my short exposure, I wanna see the action. Actually, I wanna see the action from the seller's perspective. So let's switch lower. That's the hourly chart, right? What I would like to see, the biggest wave, latest wave in this move to the upside, the biggest correction was here, right? So what I would like to see is the move back below 65.60, right? That would be some kind of the conservative approach, pullback, retest, low from here, right? But as I mentioned, from the higher time frame, 66.40, 66.80. So there is another possible plan on my side, right? I wanna see even going on a lower time frame, I want to see this type of the rally from the intraday perspective. All right, look what happened here, guys. Nice. So we broke the intraday trend line, right? That's the retest over here. So we have some, and we might see this type of the rally. So in case I'm going to see on the smaller time frame some kind of the rejection around here, right? That's gonna be my another trading plan when it comes to the short side of the Australian dollar. Well, I'm going to look to try to trade the short side of the Australian dollar also versus euro, right? So let's have a look what we have here. Now, after a huge rally, right, we were discussing that market is approaching very significant level when it comes to the possible demand zone, right? So last week, that's what we discussed. We've seen attempt to bounce, we've seen attempt to rally, right? We covered almost or more than 50% of the drop of the previous week, right? So I'm going to watch the current level very carefully. What I'm going to look for from the conservative perspective, from the weekly chart, right? This particular candle we have right now, I would like to see retest of the previous week low, maybe stop hunt, right? But I would like to see this type towards the end of the week, this type of the candle, right? Maybe something like that, right? Some kind of the lower shadow. The body doesn't have to be the rising one, it could be still the falling one, but I want to see the reaction around this current level when it comes to the weekly chart from the conservative approach, right? From a little bit more aggressive approach, okay, it could be attempt to break that level, okay, based on what we have like this, right? So again, very similar what discussed on the weekly, but it might happen, for example, today or tomorrow. Attempt to break lower, okay, some kind of the rejection, lower shadow, and if we are going to get the daily close above, right, this demand, I might try to as a little bit more aggressive approach, try to trade the eventual break of that latest consolidation when it comes to the Australian dollar. So let's have a look what we have from the intraday perspective when it comes to the Australian dollar versus euro. All right, and there you go. So as you can see, there is a possibility of some kind of the over under here. All right, so maybe after, right after, just before or right after RBA Gov speaks, we might see some spike to the downside. Well, that's almost 60-70 pips, right? But I'm going to, monitor very closely 65-80. If that's gonna be the case, I'm going to try to trade at least towards the latest supply. In that case, we are talking about the levels close to 67-70. We are going to see how it's going to eventually end up when it comes to the euro Australian dollar. As I mentioned, there is a chance we are going to get some updates and news from Japan. So in that case, let's have a look again what we have on dollar yen. After latest break to the upside, okay, we are still trying to hold above. Right, upper shadows, that might be something the bulls might be worried about, right? On the other hand, if you remember, we were discussing this levels around 106.80 and taking into the consideration the previous week, those lower shadows, right? The bulls managed to survive. So as long as we are above, based on the daily close, 106.80, there is a possibility we might see a little bit higher levels, even towards first 108.25, then 108.60. Basically, there is some kind of the disconnection between the dollar yen and latest price action when it comes to the indices. So it's gonna be very, very interesting how it's going to play out. Well, if you remember one of our latest meetings and updates when it comes to the yen, I've mentioned that I would rather like to see break back below 106.80, okay, with the negative sentiment, and I would use that breakdown on that particular cross to try to trade other yen crosses like Aussie yen, Euro yen, or Pound yen. Right? So I'm not gonna have the direct short exposure when it comes to the dollar yen, but I'm going to use the price action on the dollar yen in case the bulls on the yen are going to start to pressure the sellers. So I'm going to start to use that opportunity to try to trade other crosses. That's how it looks for now. So I'm looking for a weaker Australian dollar, looking for a stronger yen, still having a little bit of the negative sentiment, especially from the Australian dollar perspective because of the chart, right? Indices looks a little bit different, but that's something we are going to discuss tomorrow. So let's have a look where we are going to be towards the end of the Tokyo session, and if the update we did right now, if it's going to work the way we want. Have a great Tokyo session, guys. Don't be trapped, and see you around. Take care and good night.